Everyone's heard about the term like terrible twos, and toddlerhood, right, is this time that parents feel like we're just advised to like get through it, right? Like, how do you like to reframe this for parents?
Yes. I think one thing that I'll add so that I don't paint myself as this like incredible Mary Poppins at the young children that was so just naturally understood them, because I had that. And then I actually had my own children.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and after I'd worked for years in schools, I married a teacher. But when you have your own children, it's a whole nother ballgame. I mean, I went right back to positive discipline and said, okay, let's retrain through this lens. She was colicky, strong-willed. They all are strong-willed, but it is really relentless. And I think it's that part where you get to this concept of the terrible twos, and then you're like, okay, I've made it. But then they turn 3 and then they turn 4. And you know, it actually gets like harder. It gets more intense. And maybe by then you've had
3
another
is more
baby.
intense than 2. 3.5. Oi.
Exactly. I think this is one of those myths that it's like, just get through the terrible twos and then you're fine. And so there's a lot of missed opportunity because you are just put in survival mode and you do a lot of enabling or a lot of just, I'm just going to do it myself. I'm just going to hold out, try and squeeze everything in during their nap or once I get them to sleep, and then clean up the mess and rinse and repeat the next day. And there's kind of this like culture of like, oh, kids, aren't they annoying? And aren't the littles so, or let's just like get them into the play dates so I can avoid them. And so I think the reframe that you're asking about is really critical. And it really is a decision point when they are young. And I remember actually going through this really personally with my husband when we had our third, of saying, you've got to re-engage. It's like really having that mindset of this time matters and it doesn't have to take me down. It's understanding that, yes, it is absolutely relentless. It is the most like relentless time you will have for sure. The most intense time. And you've got an older one as well. I know I've got a teenager now in middle school, and I wouldn't say that it doesn't get any less time consuming for sure, but there is an intensity of the physical nature of these young kids when they're this little, where you don't feel like you have that separation from yourself and the little person. And I think the reframe is that embracing that critical window, that actually like all of those behaviors, all of that relentless challenging, the tantrum, the screaming, the clinginess is actually that message of saying, I am here and this is our time together. This is it. And so we get to reframe this as this is our way to connect. This is our chance. We as the grownups, as the parents, get to find the fun, get to invite the cooperation. We get to see their eyes light up when we include them and teach them and actually take that time for training and set up the routines and really discover how capable they are. Like when we can engage and say, yes, this is a relentless time, but it's not just about survive and get through it. It's about this is the time to teach into how they can thrive and how we can set up this awesome runway when they do get older. So I lean just as heavily on Dr. Siegel's work, who's amazing. I think when I really appreciated him as a parent is when my oldest was 4, and recognizing that there was this surge in brain development, using his model of the brain in the palm of the hand, teaching her about her brain, empowering her about her brain as a preschooler, and understanding that actually it isn't the terrible 2s. It's the, as he says, it's the terrible 3s and the effing 4s. So if you just think it really like true intensity of the 4s are so hard. They're so emotional and they're here at that point. So I think what can happen is like we think, oh, we just have to get through the terrible 2s. Well, guess what? If you have that mindset, then you're just going to hit the terrible 3s. And if you think, oh, I just have to get through those, then you're just going to end up in the effing 4s. And if you get through that, then you're going to get into the kindergartner where now you've got all these habits and you haven't established coping skills, capability, independence around routines.
It's harder. It's all harder at that point.
Exactly, Hundred. That's exactly right. And so I'm like, there's always something. And that's where we look at with positive discipline. There will always be a list of challenges with children because they are children. They are growing their behavior. They're learning skills. They are not many adults. And so now is the time. It's not just, oh, I just have to get through this part and then it'll be over. It's never over.